I'm Adrienne Enns, and I welcome you to the Intention Sessions podcast. I want to inspire our most intentional living. In each episode, we'll talk to remarkable individuals who will share their authentic journeys and their insights with us. They're going to remind us that life's complexities can be our greatest teachers, and that intentional living can be expressed in an infinite number of ways. I hope you find some inspiration for your most intentional life right here. Today on the podcast, I am really excited to introduce you to Jill Valentine. So I want to tell you a little bit about Jill first. Jill is a co-founder of the social enterprise UGO Travel for Change and author of the book, Dare to be a Dandelion. She has been a transformative travel and social impact coach for over 5 years, following over 2 decades of work and volunteering in the charity and nonprofit sector, and becoming a certified professional coach. She has led life-changing coaching programs around the world, helping her clients gain clarity, confidence, and a deeper sense of self while impacting local communities in places like Belize, Nepal, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, and Tanzania. Jill is the creator of the UGO Triple Change model, whose 3 pillars include change yourself, change your community, and change your world. She leverages the power of travel and volunteerism as tools for creating profound personal and social change. She's an adventurer and a force for good and lives by the words, "Let's make it happen." Jill, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so thrilled to have this conversation. So Jill and I met through an awesome community of female entrepreneurs a few weeks ago, oh my God. And, I've just been following your work. And so I've been wanting to have you on here for a long time because what you're doing is so transformative, and I really love the idea of intentional travel. So sometimes we need that rest, the break travel, but other times it's a real opportunity for adventure and growth. So I'm just thrilled to have this conversation with you.
Oh, I'm so excited, and traveling with intention is a huge piece of what we're all about. And sometimes it is just traveling for intention to relax and making sure that the actual intention around that is relaxing. I mean, I can get into so much of it, but yeah, travel is so powerful. And I think a lot of us just kind of go with the flow when we do travel. But I think we're missing out on a lot if we don't have that sort of intention behind it and taking it for the opportunities that it can be in terms of transformation. And I absolutely love what you do. I love your cards. I use it in a lot of my travel. So this is just so wonderful to be here to chat with you today.
Awesome. So if you don't mind, let's start with you personally. So, how did you come to be doing this work? I know that's a massive question that could take hours, but if you want to give us the abridged version.
It started in childhood. No. So basically I was happy enough in life, but there was definitely something missing. I was looking for more. And I ended up spending a year in Uganda doing disability sport volunteering. So that was my background here before I left. And I went with my then boyfriend, now husband, and had the most incredible professional and personal year of my life. I then returned to Toronto. I was engaged. He proposed while we were abroad, and I actually became really depressed. And I struggled with being back, being home. I didn't know what I was going to do. I eventually decided I couldn't go back to a 9-to-5, and I decided I wanted to become a life coach. I took the life coaching program, and it changed my life. It was so transformative. I learned so much about myself, and so much of what I learned came from my time in Uganda. And I started thinking at the end, everyone's like, who are you going to work with? What's your niche? And all I kept thinking is it's going to be around volunteering, giving back. I spent a month in the Philippines, intentionally doing some research around the idea of volunteering abroad, coaching involved. I was myself being a volunteer after Typhoon Haiyan and doing recovery work. And it just clicked. I chatted with so many people who were having the most profound experiences by giving abroad, like by volunteering and giving their time, but they weren't processing the whole thing. They didn't know what they were going to do when they were going home. And it clicked. Life coaching and volunteering abroad, two of the most transformative things you could possibly do, putting them together. What a brilliant idea. And so yeah, transformative travel coaching is what I started doing. And I ran my first program to Belize for a group of women, and it was incredible. And yeah, I got a business partner shortly after that. Yeah, and it's been amazing since then.
Minus the pandemic.
Yes. Totally.
With that little parentheses around about a year.
The programs themselves have been amazing, but yeah, we basically lost like 2 years of our business.
So you're getting back to it next year.
Button.
Is that right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Yeah. We are our big thing that we had planned for 2020, which involves a week of volunteering in Tanzania and climbing Kilimanjaro. It's the program we had run in 2019 and was so successful. We decided to do it again. We postponed it to the end of 2021 and have postponed it again out of just COVID concerns and stuff. And we're now doing it in early 2022.
I think it's awesome. And you know what? I really believe that'll be here before we know it.
Oh, absolutely. The time is flying by.
So what I would love for you to do now, because I remember that I think we were at a holiday party and I've heard your story different times in different places. And I really love it when you share like the experiences. Like, so whether you're going to share a linear experience or you want to pick like a best of highlights reel, like I'd love for you to give the listeners a real sense of what might happen to a person on one of these adventures. So everything from, I know you do pre-coaching to what a day in the life, while on one of these adventures might look like, to post. Like, I'd love for you to paint this picture so people can really get a sense of the amazing work you're doing.
Awesome. So yeah, well, we get clients that come to us for so many different reasons, but what I love is they all have this transformative journey, regardless of why they came, whether, they're coming to climb the mountain. We've had people come just because they know the group of people that we bring, it's only 12 individuals, is going to be amazing people and they want to connect. Or it's that they are searching for that deeper purpose or meaning in their life. Whatever it is, we dive right in with some online group coaching in Zoom. And we do a few sessions like that. And we just start doing some great self-exploration and and you'll love this, some of the intentional stuff.
Yeah.
What do they want specifically to get out of this journey, this adventure? Like it's an inner journey and an outer journey at the same time. And we get really intentional. What are some goals that they want to set? What are some, like, we know the trip is going to be so transformative and it's an opportunity for growth. So let's be intentional and really hone in on a couple of key things. So we've had people talk about like fear of public speaking and they want to just get out and be more, in front of a crowd. And we're like, awesome, we'll make that happen on the trip. Whatever it might be. So we do some great intention setting, some self-discovery beforehand, and then we have a WhatsApp group. And so everyone starts chatting on that about like what we're packing. And especially with our Kilimanjaro program, people are like, what are you bringing on the mountain? Are you going to pack a shiwi so we can, stand up and like it's all of those conversations start happening. It's amazing. And then we all fly and meet in country and we meet people at the airport, we pick them up, and it is like a massive reunion.
So awesome.
Because these people have gotten to know each other so deeply and intimately over those few calls, and it is amazing. There's hugs. It's so fabulous. And then we kick off our time volunteering. So we dive right into the local community. we work with local partners on projects that they have specifically expressed a need for. And we spend our days on site under the hot sun volunteering and building alongside a local team of, contractors and everything who know how to properly do the building piece. We're there throwing in our, sweat and everything, whether it's mixing cement or whatever it might be. We make lunch a lot of the times along with often the local women who are preparing meals for us. And it's just this incredible time of connecting and, really giving back with like your whole body and soul. It's incredible. And then depending on, different days, different things happen, but we might have some cultural activity that happens in the evening, or we might set aside some time to do some more deep diving and have a coaching session while we're there. And yeah, that's usually when people are just so ready and open to share and grow and, poke around inside a little bit. And it's just this incredible week, and people just feel so connected to each other, so connected to the community. They're giving back, they're feeling purposeful, they're feeling all the amazing stuff. And then at the end, we usually add on some sort of day adventure, whether it's a one-day excursion, or in the case of Courage Community Kilimanjaro, we go and we climb Kilimanjaro for the week. And that's a whole other thing where we're hiking every day, having great, facilitated discussions at dinner, really diving into getting out of people's comfort zones and building confidence. And then, we return home. And that's the part that I love is after all this self-discovery and excitement and motivation about what the future can hold and possibilities, we get back and we help people to really make that happen, to sort of not just go back to their jobs and stick their head in the sand, but to kind of foster what we call wherever you go, there you are. That idea of like, what came up for you? What was so amazing while you were abroad? And how can we bring that home? How can we make that happen for you? How can we make your life more like your time abroad that was so fulfilling and so amazing? And how can you communicate to your family about what you experienced? And we do another bunch of coaching calls and continual work. And then honestly, we stay really great friends because of the intimacy and the connection that happens. And people come home and they change their jobs because they've realized, that their values weren't in line with the place they worked at. People go home and have difficult conversations with family members because they're feeling more understanding about why these relationships are so important and how they can show up more authentically. And they have these really life-changing. So the trip itself is life-changing, but coming home, they actually change their lives. They come home and things shift for them. And it's amazing. It's so exciting to see. And we're there supporting them and just there through the whole experience.
I love it. I really love how you nurture the whole process. So I've got a bunch of questions for you. So first of all, I have to imagine, that there is at least one person, if not many, listening to this going like, this sounds amazing, but I could never do that. Like maybe it sounds like something for extroverts or really physically fit people, or I don't know what all of the objections you might have heard, but like, what would you say to that person? Because I'm sure you've spoken to those people many times.
Well, it's so interesting you asked that. I myself have just signed up for someone else's program to go to Greenland, and it's a larger group, and I'm feeling all those feels.
Yeah,
I'm kind of like, ooh, like it's a group of people I won't know. How am I going to feel? Am I going to make sure I get the connecting flight? Like all of those anxieties and thoughts go through my head. I'm going to be leaving my daughter. She's only 6. Like all of that kind of stuff. And what I have to say is the one thing that all of our alumni share is that they felt so taken care of, so safe through the whole experience. And we provide psychologically safe space. We foster like just an environment of true support. The people that come on our trips, we do have sort of an application process, and you jump on a call with me. We make sure you're the right sort of fit. And it's nothing crazy. We just make sure you're that kind of like, kind, loving person who's open to some self-exploration. And so the people that come are they become like family, to be honest, when they're on the experience. We pick you up right from the airport. We take care of you the entire time. And even when we are doing things like climbing Kilimanjaro, like we are there as a group. We are there as a team. There's always someone walking beside you or willing to walk beside you. We've had people, someone actually hurt their back and people were so eager to like grab their bag, walk, towards the back of the group with them. Like there's one of the most supportive environments I personally have ever been in. And it's what I want to create so much. I grew up personally not always feeling safe in spaces, not always feeling I belonged. And so I've made it such an intentional part of this program to just make people feel secure, safe. Climbing a mountain, Kilimanjaro is not Mount Everest. It's a hike. There's definitely a push on the night that we summit. But honestly, as long as you can walk, a few hours a day, you're good. This isn't, something that requires crazy mountaineering skills or anything by any stretch. And yeah, we had 9 of our group of 12 summit. And they were, all ages, stages, backgrounds. And that's the other thing. We really do get quite an array of people. Everybody, like we've got people that come from corporate, we've got entrepreneurs that come. Like I said, it's just that they're all like-minded. They're looking for more in life. They're looking for more purpose, more giving back, more adventure, more nourishing relationships, whatever it might be. And yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
No, it totally does, because I just have to imagine, there's a certain amount of fear, and sometimes you just have to take that step into the unknown. So you answered it perfectly. And so on that, like, I'm just imagining that I want to talk about tough days and aha moments. So, and maybe they go hand in hand, or maybe they're separate. You're going to tell me. But like, I have to imagine, like, we've all been away from home. They're on this trip, they're in a foreign place, you're doing this hard work. So maybe you're tired, maybe you're hot, maybe all of your stuff is coming up. Like, there have to be tough days, like, and breakthrough moments. So I'm just curious, like, if you can speak to that, or like you've got some good stories you could tell without, compromising anybody's confidence.
Of course. And you're right. I mean, that is part of what makes travel transformative. You're away from your routine, you're away from your familiarity, you're away from your family, your safety. But that's what kind of does open you that little bit to, new perspectives, growth, and everything like that. So we absolutely have tough days or tough times. Usually it's not a full day that someone has a tough time, but there will be moments. There are mothers who have left their families, and then they'll have that pang of like, I really miss my kids. It can be very emotional. But what's been amazing is then they'll jump on a call with their kids, and their kids are doing awesome.
Yeah.
Their kids have like bonded with whoever they're staying with, whether it's their life partner that they left the kids at home with, or in my case, I've left my daughter from such a young age with grandparents and grandmothers and uncles and aunts and everyone. And she's like, I'm good, and she's doing amazing and telling me about all the fun they're having. And in one particular case, we had somebody whose daughter had written the most amazing school project and written about how she wished more people in the world were like her mother, who is volunteering abroad right now and doing good. And it just was that moment where it's like, wow, not only is my kid fine, like I'm role modeling for her. And I'm I'm taking this incredible opportunity to show her like what's possible and everything. And so there's been these like beautiful, beautiful moments that can come out of that struggle and anxiety. The same, I mean, gosh, climbing the mountain. Some people, again, it totally depends on altitude. Some people are hit by altitude sickness, others aren't. Usually the ones who are hit and persevere and push up the mountain, I mean, she's now actually a coach. She was a participant before, and she's come and done the transformative travel coaching with me, and I've trained her, and she's joining us as a coach on our next program. She hugely struggled up the mountain, but she persevered. And to this day, she thinks about it every single day, and how if she pushed through and conquered Kilimanjaro the way that she did, like, she can do anything.
It's amazing. I feel like crying. Again, like, it's just so amazing.
Yeah. And there's just so many moments like that. And you're right. You can be hot and sweaty and things, but my gosh, we really connect with the communities and the locals. And for so many people, like, yes, it's a hot and sweaty day, but one of the biggest things for me is, as women, we don't often get to see our physical strengths. We don't kind of test that very often. And actually, my mom came, and she just turned 70, and she came just a couple of years ago. So she came like in her mid 60s, and she was swinging a pickaxe into the ground to dig a hole. And you could see this sense, and she shared about it later, like, she had no idea she had that. And it was this moment where she's like, I wondered if I could. And I, did it. And she just was like, she was so proud of herself. And just seeing what she was still so physically able to do was just this beautiful moment. And I think it translates to, like, sure, if I can do this, like, what else can I do? Not just physically, but just, what am I capable of? So there's so much of that also happens. Like, we've got people, and again, you do the work to whatever level you can, both the inner work and the physical outer work that we do. And, people get to test themselves. They get to see what they're capable of. And there's like days where we're mixing cement by hand. And it's hard. It's tough, but like, wow, to be able to be like, we did that. And to look at the end and go like, we built that fence, or we built that storage shed. It's incredible. And there are people who just never thought they would be doing some of the work that they were doing, both emotionally and physically. But we provide that sort of space to safely do it, to test it out, to get comfortable. And so, yeah, there's just so many moments of transformation and aha moments and everything. Oh my God, I could go on.
That's amazing. And then sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I actually have moments, and I'd never had these before, moments of pure bliss. Like, there's been a couple of really these clear moments. I've stood and I was with Nicole, and we were doing a circle with our group and the local workmen and everybody. And it was just towards the end of the week, and we looked at each other and we just both started crying. Like, we were just like, this is our lives. This is what we've created. And look at what's happening here and the transformations we've seen, the community we're supporting. And it was just this like overwhelming sense of like, I could not be happier in this moment.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. And I love that, because just to thread something to other podcast episodes, like, this, like, when we're willing to go into, the pain, whatever kind of pain that is, or like any discomfort, like, we're being outside of your comfort zone, when we're willing to, experience that and really feel it on the other end of the spectrum, it opens up our capacity to also feel incredible joy, which is what you're describing, and great bliss. Like, that can be a really overwhelming feeling too. So I think what else is there in the human experience? Like, that's the best possible experience.
Yeah, it was all the things.
Yeah.
It just was so like, we're making a difference, and we're in this like incredible country with these amazing people, and we've changed these people's lives. And this, like, it was all of the things that I value in my life. Like, and actually that was the very first time Nicole and I had run a program together. My mom came, and so did my daughter. She was 2.5. And so it was all I'm like, and my family's here.
Yeah.
It was like everything just was so amazing. And yeah, it was rare. And they like, our group feels it. Like, we'll have talks, and I'll be talking about just how grateful I am, because I just can't share it enough. I'll be like, I'm so aggressively grateful. And we'll be standing at like the closing dinner, and I'll be in tears, just being like, I couldn't ask for a more incredible group of people, more amazing experience. And they all feel it. They all know they're they've been part of something. One of the most amazing testimonials I received was someone said, "You make magic happen." And I was like, wow, like, I guess we do, like, anyways. So yeah, I feel so blessed.
It's amazing.
So blessed that this is what I get to do.
And I don't want to say as you should, but like, it just makes sense, and then to feel that and foster those feelings. The other thing I wanted to ask you, and you kind of just spoke to it like a few minutes ago, but can you talk to us about, like, again, it could be one example or in general, like about your interaction with these local communities? Like what exact work, you kind of described some of it, but like what projects are you doing and what do you learn from these people where you go into their environment?
Yeah, I love that you asked that because it's such a huge part of the whole experience and what we do and what we stand for. I mean, my overall vision and desire in the world is to just help communities, to help those that are less fortunate, but that are amazing and powerful. And so we've been fortunate to connect with some incredible communities. We tend to end up working with women-led organizations. And one of the big things that we ask them is, what do you need? And Maggie Duncan, who's the founder of Dare Women's Foundation in Tanzania, on the phone cried. And she said, "We've had so many people come here. No one has ever asked us that." And it's actually one of the big issues within sort of international development work is people are like, "This is what we want to do. We want to build you a school." And they're like, "We don't need a school."
Yeah, that's so
that
interesting.
is not our approach. Oh my gosh, that could be like a whole other podcast or course, let me tell you,
sure.
Just that whole dynamic. And so we ask, what do you need? What are you currently working on? Like, what do you already have in the works? We're not here to kind of bring you something entirely new that you don't have capacity around. We're here to help enhance or accelerate stuff that you already have in the works. And so Maggie shared that she had a piece of land and that she ultimately wants to build a refuge, a shelter on it for women, escaping domestic violence or whatever it might be. And she wanted to grow some food on it and everything. But she's like, we need a perimeter fence. She's like, if not, when we plant things, the animals from like all around are just going to come and eat. And when we go to build, our stuff won't be secure on this plot. If you pile a bunch of bricks up, someone will come and take them away. Yeah. She's like, so we need a perimeter fence. We were like, all right, let's come and build you a perimeter fence. And we do an educational piece within our curriculum that talks about, like, we don't want to go in with a white savior mentality. It's really detrimental to the local community. We see ourselves as coming over as friends. We see ourselves doing similar things that we would want to do in our own local communities. We really talk about how the people that we're visiting aren't like sad people to be pitied. They're amazing powerhouse, like women and men with incredible businesses and all sorts of stuff, but that they're just in a place physically that has less, that doesn't have the same kind of resources and opportunities as we do. And we kind of really help understand that. And we come as their equals, as their friends. And in partnership, we help build this, whatever sort of specific project it is that we're working on. And our participants, a part of the fee is a donation that covers the supplies, the work by the workmen, a local contractor will come in, as well as funding, like Maggie, for her time to organize us while we're there. And a lot of people think like, oh, shouldn't volunteering be free? Like, no, we pay volunteer coordinators here in this part of the world. Like, why wouldn't we be helping fund people who have to take time out of their busy schedules to host us and facilitate, our being in their country and volunteering. So we, partner very much in that way. So in Costa Rica, this women's organization had this beautiful open air community center, and they admitted, they're like, we don't use it very often because we don't have cars and we have to bring everything there. It had this beautiful kitchen and open space, but they're like, we have to schlep everything there every time. Like, it's almost easier to just host in someone's house. And so they said we could do with a storage shed. And we were like, all right, it's not, like I said, it's not sexy like a school or, a well, but they were like, that's what we need. a storage shed so we can store stuff and start actually making it like into a commercial kitchen, and maybe start like a sewing program, and we can leave all the machines here. And that's the kind of thing that we do, already working with stuff that's on their radar, that's part of their needs, that they ideally would like to do, in 2 to 3 years when they can find the funding. And instead we're like, great, we'll provide the funding, a little bit of extra manpower, and we'll come and do this in partnership.
It's beautiful. I just love like the word collaboration's coming up, like it's just so collaborative. And yeah, like I just giving people what they need and listening and being very present.
Yes. And we also are we know people get excited. They're there. They want to like, oh, I'm going to fundraise for you when I go home, and I'm going to do this and that. We tell people, you make no promises while we're there.
Yes.
We will listen to more of their needs. We'll understand how we could continue. And when we get home, if you want to do that, we'll talk about it more. We'll dive into it more. We'll see what happens in a few weeks when your real life happens.
Yeah, smart. Very smart.
And then see, because so many people go over and they make all of these huge promises of coming back and doing all this other stuff. And then they go home and that sort of drops off their mind. So we're very intentional about our approach and making sure that what we're doing really is of service to the local community, because that's literally what we're doing, why we're there.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's really important for us.
That makes a lot of sense. And I want to ask you, shifting a little bit, and you've already kind of answered this, but I want it to be a question in and of itself. Why do we need to go away to experience a transformation, or how does being away help that?
So there's entire books on this.
I know. I'm like,
like,
okay, no,
really
we've only got 45 minutes. Go for it.
I know there's a book on like why travel matters, and it's literally the fact that like we learn through our senses. We learn through our eyes, our nose, our smell, and we learn when we experience new things. Like, I don't really go around my house learning more about my home. Like, it's the house I've been living in for a while. And when we go abroad to somewhere so different, and the more different, the better, that's so different, it truly opens our eyes. We see the world differently. We see the world, and we are literally taking in new information. And at that point, like, your body is ripe. It's like you're more creative when you travel. You see the world with more possibility. And my biggest thing is, I talk to people and I always say, if someone is leaving a job, lost a job, and wants a career change, I'm like, go abroad. Because what happens if you don't is you stay in your bubble. And we are in bubbles. Like, you stay and you'll talk to people who are working in the same kind of 9-to-5 environment as you. You'll end up talking to a career counselor who's like, oh yeah, we'll just find you another job in similar, but maybe just a slightly different field. Like, maybe you won't do marketing for this, you'll do marketing here.
Yeah.
And we sort of stay, but when you go abroad and you like meet people who are just living entirely different lives in entirely different ways with different values, it's just this moment of like, wow, life could be so different. And we've had so many people have that experience. Just, even meeting some of the other people in our program, some of them are like entrepreneurs and they run multi-streamed things, and they've got like all these different, and they're just like, wow, I never thought that could be a way to make money. Like, not just have all my eggs like in this one job, but I could, be doing all these different projects. Like, just, there's so much that opens. I always say, like, if you're in a forest and you're a lumberjack, well, everyone around you is likely a lumberjack or somebody that works in the forest. How are you even going to know that you could be a mountain climber if you can't even see the mountain?
Yeah. If
you don't even know that outside of the forest, there's a mountain and a beach and all of these things when you're just in the forest. And that is what happens to us in our lives. We just stay, if we're here, in our forest. And so going abroad, it takes you out of, as I said, your routine, your familiar. It takes you away from a lot of the voices that are in our heads, our spouses, our parents, our colleagues. When you're away, like, all of those voices just become so distant, and you literally see your world in like a bird's eye view, like from a distance. big things that seemed huge and like these massive problems, suddenly you realize how insignificant and small they are, especially when you go to places where people are really struggling with life and kind of go, oh, my house renovation, that really isn't a big deal when these people are struggling to put food on the table or have just been hit by, you know, a tsunami or a typhoon and their whole house is demolished and they don't even have somewhere to live right now. There's so much shift in perspective, expanding horizon. I personally think if you are going through that, like I want to learn more about myself and look at the possibilities of my life coaching, 100%. Life coaching abroad, oh my gosh, like exponentially more powerful.
It's amazing. And so tell us about this trip that you have coming up next year.
Yeah, so our Courage Community Kilimanjaro program is a 3-month coaching program that includes a 2-week experience in Tanzania. So we'll be spending the week with Dear Women's Foundation, doing more work on the site that we previously built the perimeter fence for. And then we spend a week climbing Kilimanjaro together. And that's all embedded in this like educational and emotional framework that helps you dive more into like who you are, what you want out of life, what the possibilities are, and also how you can make a bigger difference if you choose to in this world, whether that's locally, internationally. We dive into that as well. Not everyone's like, I want to volunteer my whole life away or anything like that. But I can tell you that adding that sense of purpose to your life, the giving back, the making a difference in whatever capacity is, it could be through your job, through your business, with your family, just locally as a volunteer in your own community. It adds and fills so much in someone's life. That giving is such a powerful thing. And so we touch on that as well, because naturally, if you're coming and you wanted to volunteer with us in Dare Women's Foundation, there's something in you that wants to give. And we dive into that and looking at how you can give and what makes sense for you in your life to make a difference in the world. So we dive into all sorts of stuff. And yeah, we look at our 3 pillars of happiness. We look at our triple change model. It's all this incredible programming and curriculum that have been honed over the years to really foster connection, inner growth, development, while we're giving back to an amazing community in need, and then challenging ourselves and getting out of our comfort zone, climbing Kilimanjaro.
I love it. And I know I'm kind of asking you to look into the future. So maybe we'll have to have a follow-up conversation. But like, I'd have to imagine also, taking this leap and like the charge of this experience has always been big and profound. I'd have to imagine that there are even more layers to taking on this kind of adventure as we exit, I say optimistically, COVID. Like when we've been in our houses, it's been tough. There's been more isolation. Like I'm just curious what your thoughts are on, how people might show up in even a bit of a different way now, given everything that's gone on.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I've talked to so many of my clients about this. For some of us that have been like super housebound, especially, that idea of suddenly like going out in the world, getting on a plane, all of the things, even just interacting with a group of larger than, your family, your maybe spouse and kids, like going and being amongst like 10 people again and having those kind of things. And I think it's like riding a bike. I think there'll be that little wibble wobble, but you'll get back on it and you'll be like, yeah, this is what we've been doing for our whole lives. I know we've had this sort of setback, but we're programmed. We're programmed for connection. We're programmed to be amongst each other and everything. So I think it will feel very, very natural. And I think the most important key piece is that acknowledgement of it. And I think, if you're just thrown back in and no one's talking about the fact that we're feeling strange, that will be weird.
Yes.
But that idea that like, I know that the first time I'm going to see some of my friends, hopefully in a few weeks, in very small groups, there will be that like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I felt so isolated. Like there will be a conversation about it, an acknowledgement, and a sort of like, yes, this is awkward and weird, especially because we can't still quite hug yet, but we're so I think that kind of like creating the space to have those conversations. And that's absolutely what we'll be doing with our, team and group that we travel with, because we still don't know exactly what will be happening in Tanzania by the time we go. There will still be a lot of all this in the new year when we do travel, and just making that space for people to share their anxieties, their concerns, letting them know all of the protocols and things that we'll have in place. And I think that's the other thing, is making sure we're setting clear boundaries, like the world's kind of opening up, but I still don't feel comfortable with this or need to wear a mask in this situation. So yeah, I think it's exciting. I think a lot of people are ready to get back on planes, to get back into the real world. Like I said, I'm going to Greenland in September, and I'm nervously excited. I'll be fully vaccinated, and that's something we actually require of our people, so that we can all sort of travel together with a little bit more feeling of confidence. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit strange and weird. But I know the person running my program will also be the same, like talking about it and, connecting about it beforehand.
Yeah. And I also just have to think there would just be this, extra layer of gratitude, like we used to hop on planes and do things, and like I just imagine for myself, the first time I'm on a plane, I'm going to be like, wow, like, I took it for granted, and I don't know. Yeah. There's a big sense of, gratitude, and just like, and not taking things for granted.
Yes. And I think that will be 100% present. Like I said, I always talk about being aggressively grateful. And I think if I have one of those bliss moments, it's going to be even more profound, because I'll be like, oh my gosh, like these things are fragile. And like we didn't realize, but these kinds of opportunities and things, like absolutely so many people take things for granted. And actually, that's a huge piece of what people return home with after our programs. It's almost like they've had not a COVID experience, but they've gone somewhere and seen the world so differently, and seen the have not part of the world, like when things aren't possible, kind of like what we've experienced ourselves now. And they get to go and they get to see people, experiencing what it's like to not have a steady paycheck, and to literally wonder where your food's coming from every day, and stuff, and to live in some of that anxiety that we experienced through COVID. And so they come home so grateful for like running water in their house, and, public transit that feels safe and runs on time, like even the smallest things. And I think it's because I have traveled that I have such a deep sense of gratitude all the time. Like I'm constantly feeling grateful for everything in my life, because I've seen, what people lives can be like. And then I think we all got a taste of that with COVID. Like, there are people in parts of the world that often can't see their family because they live too far and they can't afford, to get on a bus and visit. That's their everyday. And we experienced it for, a year plus. So I think it'll be a really interesting and exciting time. And I hope we keep those lessons of gratitude and keep that feeling of gratitude up. Because gratitude is one of the fastest ways to feel happy and bring you into the present.
Yeah, it's so true. And I just, I know already when people listen to this, your energy, your goodwill, like that gratitude, like just radiates from you. It's absolutely contagious.
Well, I just know I come from truly a place of extreme privilege, like being born, literally as a white person in Canada, in, middle income, like all the things. I am so privileged, and I so recognize it. And that's, I feel like I just want to spend my life helping others who don't have those same privileges. And I've been so lucky to have learned that. And I think it's because I have traveled and I've seen those without privilege, and I've seen how they can live. I do a lot of work in Uganda with people with disabilities and things. And when I compare their lives to mine, I'm overwhelmed and almost feel guilty for what I have, when I know there are people living in such awful situations with stigma, lack of opportunities and everything. And so I recognize my privilege, and I'm so intent on using it to help others.
It's amazing, Jill. I just want to say thank you. So thanks, number one, for everything that you shared today in our time together, and for this incredible work that you're doing, and for just being so inspiring. So for anybody listening, if they want to, follow your work or go on a trip or find out more, we'll put it all on the website. But why don't you tell them right now how they can find you and reach out to you?
Absolutely. So we have a community called the More Community on Facebook, which you can join. And that's where we do all sorts of sharing and letting people know about what's going on with us. We have a website, which is ugoimpact.com. And I'm on social media, and I'm always happy to connect and become friends, with people that are looking for living intentionally and traveling and adventures and all of that kind of juicy stuff. And and if they're on our website, they can always subscribe to our newsletter as well.
Awesome. And in closing, I just want to, give you the mic for another moment. So, if there's anything coming up for you or that we didn't mention that you want to, get in here, and or if you just have some words of inspiration, go for it.
Awesome. Thank you. And this has been such a pleasure. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you. This has been so lovely.
For me too.
I absolutely loved connecting with you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But if anyone here is feeling like, wow, this sounds like an amazing opportunity, this, Courage Community Kilimanjaro. We also have some exciting stuff in the works for 2023, a couple of other programs that don't include a huge mountain, if that is, intimidating. If this is something that you're kind of sitting going, oh, that sounds so incredible, shoot me an email. Let's jump on a call. Let's talk about it. I do one-on-one coaching. The trips are amazing, and our community is great. And so just reach out and connect, and let's explore that. I'm very much about being of service. So if this is resonating in any way, I would love to figure out a way to support you and to help you live, an intentional life that you feel really happy with and that you feel you're like thriving in. So and I think that's it. This is all about living intentionally. And I just say, do it. Like, just decide this is the time in your life to start really creating a life that you love. I did, and I had those bliss moments. That is this. I love my life, and I think that's sadly kind of rare in this day and age. And I'm not anybody super special, but I just had a vision for what I believed I could do and what I believe the world could do with. And so, encourage you to go out and make it happen. So thank you so much, Adrienne, for this. This has been just so lovely.
Thank you, Jill. And yes, I also am just going to echo what you said. I encourage you to reach out to Jill, and, sometimes this can be a big decision. So she can help you, start wherever you are, and then get where you want to go and create what you want to create. So Jill, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. This has been amazing.
Thank you for listening. May some of the wisdom shared here inspire your most intentional living. For more information about this episode, this podcast, intentional living, and my work in the world, please visit mayyouknowjoy.com. You can also find my May You Know Joy and Seeds of Intention cards there, and my book, Intentional Days. You'll also find details for the Intentional Days membership, where you can gain access to a thriving community of intentional souls and lots of regular inspiration. I've got you covered. Until next time, I wish you great joy and many intentional days.